How are you, Isaac? You good?
Yeah,
What's the latest?
the latest, just working basically. That's about it.
Working.
hmm
Working hard or hardly working?
Usually the working hard part, or at least I try.
Nice, bro. Nice. Cool. Then let's get this interview on the road. So, firstly, tell me, what's your name? Where'd you come from, bro?
My name is Isaac Handley. I'm from Montana, a state in the U.S. that not many people are from. That's that's the gist of it.
How many people are from Montana?
I think in the whole state it's about 1 million people.
That's a lot of
So,
people, bro. You can't tell me there's not a lot of people. Tell me a million, bro.
but it's like in size wise, like geographical, it's like the fourth largest state,
Really?
but only 1 million people.
Okay, that makes more sense. And is that actually where Hannah Montana is based?
I wish, but I don't think so.
That was just a name that was just made up. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I thought the whole idea was she was from Montana, but maybe I was wrong the whole time. My childhood is ruined, even though I didn't watch it once.
Yeah, neither
Um,
did I.
yeah, what a load of shit. So, how long have you been in the real world for, Isaac?
It's been a while. It's, I think when last checked my number of days, it was like 700 something in a row. So, whatever that is in years, probably like 2 years, two and a half
Well, yeah,
years.
it's just under 2 years, I think. So, 365 days a year. Yeah, about 2 years, bro. Yeah, just
hmm
over. But okay, so what campus are you in?
I'm primarily in the copywriting campus.
In the copywriting campus. So your professor is
Professor Andrew.
Professor Andrew.
Yeah.
Excellent, bro.
hmm
So you joined the copywriting campus, and how long have you been part of that campus for, Isaac?
That's from day one. I took a little quiz and it gave me copywriting. So, whole
Okay.
time.
Was Dylan ever part of the copywriting campus?
Dylan Madden?
Yeah.
I don't think so. He was never. Arno is probably the closest one to it, the business one.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I got my wires crossed there. I always thought Dylan had something to do with copywriting, but I think that might have been a long time ago. So before the real world existed, maybe.
I think
But
he was a copywriter. I watched some of those course videos, but
maybe that's where I'm getting it from. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, cool. So you joined the copywriting campus, and how long did it take before you made your first dollar back as a copywriting campus student?
Well, I was, probably a lot different person then, so it took me a while, honestly. I had to just kind of go through the campus a lot because it was such a foreign idea to me because I was such a blue collar kind of worker before that making money online was like out of the window in terms of wrapping my head around it.
Yeah.
So it probably took a good 6 months, mainly because I wasn't following the process and whatnot. So
Mhm.
it was kind of my own fault, but it did take around 6 months.
Nice, bro. Nice. Well, listen, it's a very honest take there. So you were a blue collar worker, a bit like myself. I was involved in the building industry. I was actually a qualified electrician as well. So I know exactly where you're coming from with that. And I used to think myself that making money online was too long-winded and too hard to learn. But when you actually get your head around it, you realize that it's more simple than what you think. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of people out there who aren't as clever as you who are making more money. So you start to realize it's a big world out there. So how long? You said 6 months, and how much did you make when you had your first client?
So when I first did it in the copywriting campus, there was it was called the intermediate role, and you had to get $300. So that's really what I was shooting for. So I made $300 from a client, and that's progressed a long ways from where that started. But my initial like my initial goal was to make any money, but $300, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But you
Yeah,
know, yeah.
cool. And how many clients do you have now?
I think I have 4 or 5, but I've had to tailor them down because I have a really good client that I'm partnering up with. So We're doing
Okay.
that sort of a deal.
And how much money have you made from the real world in total, Isaac?
Probably at this point 50 or 60 grand, to be honest with you. Last month I made 6600 from the real world, and I mean that sounds crazy now, but now I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like a lot. So it's interesting how far I've come, to be honest.
It's a lot of money to the working man, bro. It's a lot of money
Mhm.
to the average working man, and anyone who says it isn't is either a liar or they don't really know what the average man makes. So
Oh yeah.
you're doing really well. You're doing really well. And how did you get that first client? What's your niche?
So my first client is not necessarily my niche, if you will, but I kind of came back to the blue collar thing because I'm primarily work with plumbers and HVAC guys,
Hmm.
and those those guys like I resonated with and whatnot. So that's how I got teamed up with them, and that ultimately came from cold calling and walking into local businesses in my area.
Okay, cool.
Mm,
So you just walked in, you walked
yeah,
into business and
yeah.
asked them what?
I mean, I was like, hey, I can do some. uh, Probably not the best method to do this after looking back, but
Hmm.
I was just pitching my services right there, like for marketing and stuff. And the nice part is, most trades guys hate computers, and they just want to do whatever their trade is. So they're usually pretty happy to hand off this service to me.
Nice, bro. Nice. And so tell me, what's your three favorite things about the real world then? Like, what is it that, you know, that stood out for you about the real world? And what is it that helped you the most in the real world?
Well, that list is long, but I have done other courses before, and I have actually taken some supplemental courses since then, and they all kind of suck compared to the real world because one, you, you don't get the same amount of competition. Like there's always something going on, and I always kind of thought of the real world as video games because, like every kid, I was a video game,
Hmm.
addicted to that. And now I kind of got addicted to this, which is making money, competing with fellow students. That's a huge one because you're always in there interacting with people.
Yeah.
And then the constant new stuff from the professors is just insane. Any other course they could charge more, and they never do anything different. There's never I mean, I just listened to a podcast with Rob Moore and Tristan Tate, and he was like, or Tristan said, I'm constantly reselling the product to my existing customers, and I think that's really what sets it apart because it's always going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned that there's a community inside there. Have you made any friends or any business associates from inside the real world? Or is there anyone who you speak to regularly inside?
Yeah, there's probably a solid 10, 5 to 10 people that I can message all the time who, they kind of know my situation. I kind of know their situation. We give each other advice back and forth. You can talk to them literally about anything, whether that's business or relationship, wise, anything. And you just it's like having a brother at your side as you're walking along because they're just on the same path.
Do you think that's an important element to the real world, that there is that, that community inside who help each other and, give each other advice and give each other tips that maybe or maybe show you to not make mistakes that they've maybe made?
Yeah, it's huge. I think I've I've progressed way, way, way faster, even though, it sounded like it was slow earlier, faster than I would have if I didn't have people to talk to. And then, of course, you're missing or you're avoiding the mistakes they've made, and you're helping them avoid the mistakes you've made. But it's just nice to have people, that you're doing it with as
Yeah.
opposed to doing it yourself.
So it's good to be on the journey with other people and hear about other people's successes and other people's losses too, to learn from them maybe.
Yeah, and it's a lot more real too, because when you can talk to these people who, are making more than you, you're like, oh, it's a lot more possible than I thought it would be.
Yeah, yeah. So you said that your professor is Arno, is that right?
Andrew, Professor
Andrew,
Andrew.
sorry,
Yeah.
my bad, Andrew. And could you give me like maybe three core examples or three core principles that Andrew has taught you since joining the real world?
Probably number one is working day in and day out. I mean, before this, I just didn't really know how to work, to be honest with you. I was just kind of mindless work. So a lot of like planning out my days, um, just planning how to work out and, or I mean, yeah, work for my business and whatnot. That's a pretty core thing that it's just like having hands at this point.
Yeah.
Um, Another would be definitely training, although the real world is super financial focused. It's also, health and fitness. And he's always promoted to be healthy and stuff because it helps you work and, have the right mindset or mental clarity to do that work.
Yeah.
And third is definitely the competition. He's always pushed healthy competition, not in a bad way, where I'm competing against those people who I'm talking to you about, like who I can message and whatnot. We're always competing to level up each other as we go along.
That's wonderful, bro. Now, you mentioned that you're from a blue collar background, a bit like myself. Now, when you joined the real world, how did how easy did you find that it was to learn what you're actually doing? And was it easier than what you thought it would be?
Yeah, when I initially joined, it was a little difficult to wrap my head around because I remember talking about funnels, and I'm sure you know what a funnel is, but I was the only thing I could think when I think of funnel is an oil funnel for a car.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the funnel, like the digital thing, didn't really make sense in my head, but he initially it made sense, and then I've seen the whole campus progress and him refilm the lessons, and I rewatched them because I've been in for so long that it's super incredibly easy. He lays out the steps. I mean, it's visual now. It used to not be as visual. Now he'll actually like show you what he's doing and visualize the whole thing instead of just talking about it. So that super helps with understanding it as somebody who wasn't really digitally inclined before that.
What advice would you give to someone who was maybe thinking about starting the real world and they didn't know what they were doing, and they said, if I join the real world, what's the first things I do? What's this? What do I do? What would you say to them?
I would say it's almost so easy that you'd be an idiot to mess it up, to be honest with you. But I mean, if as long as you have a brain, a half turned on brain, and you can just read words that says, "Hey, start here," and then it's literally like following a path. I mean, it's such an easy to understand concept if you can just apply yourself for more than like 30 minutes initially to begin with. And I know that most people are spending way more than 30 minutes, scrolling TikTok or something. So the time
100%.
investment is super low. And as long as you have the mental bandwidth to read some words and follow the path, it's pretty much a straightforward deal.
Isaac, can you give me an example of your typical day? Like obviously you said it's a low time investment thing. Could you give me a just an example, like how much time you maybe spend on in the real world? What do you do when you wake up? What do you do when you go to bed? You know, like in comparison to how much time you spend on your own agency to how much time you spend inside the real world. Just a gradual day breakdown for me.
Yeah, so my days changed a lot since when I initially joined, because when I initially joined, I was still in high school. So that is obviously not in the works anymore, but the average day I usually get up pretty early and as promoted by Professor Andrew, get up early. It's when your brain's the best. And I usually start working for a good couple of hours on my own agency because at this point I've carved out enough time and I make enough that I can allocate that time to this. And I basically work on my computer doing the stuff I need to do, with breaks and stuff put in there for physical, like doing walks and whatnot. So that's probably a good 4 hours. And then after that, I usually go hit the gym as one does. And I usually do that for about an hour. I go, and then it's usually about 12, 1 p.m. or something.
Mhm.
And I come back to whether that's a coffee shop or whatnot, and I continue to work and keep doing that until it's about time to eat. And I eat once a day. So,
Nice.
yeah, I've been on that kick. So I eat, then depending on the day of the week, I'll then go to kickboxing training for the night, and otherwise I would just continue to work. And then at later in the evening, I have time with friends and family to, help those relationships side of my life.
Amazing, bro. Amazing. So, what would be next for you inside the real world? So, obviously, you said you had to scale down your clients, and you had one rather big client. What's next for you in terms of maintaining your agency?
So what's next for me is probably partner or becoming not a business owner in that business, but like a partner in that business. So, like, kind of business owner. Um, I guess somebody who might not have done this before, you could also look at it as like a CMO or a chief marketing officer for this business.
Yeah.
In some sense, still, having my own agency, but doing that and ultimately like building up that business so that he and this business as a whole becomes a multi-million dollar business in our area, but also new locations in different cities and throughout the United States, and growing that, and then obviously getting my piece of the pie from that. So growing my own revenue, basically.
Would you say that the real world has changed your mentality when it comes to working?
100%. If you asked anybody who knew me before versus 2 years ago versus now, it wouldn't even be close. I have I used to hate working. I couldn't even focus on like a math problem from high school, but now it's no problem. I do it with a smile on my face. There's no problem.
So you're
And
non-comparable to the person you was.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole lot different, let me tell you, but it's a lot more enjoyable. So
Hmm.
it's both longer work hours and more enjoyable. So it's a
Nice.
good deal.
Nice, bro. And what's so you've told me what's next for you. What's your target for this year? So if you've made 50, 60 grand, you've been there for 2 years, you explained that you only started making money after 6 months. Actually, going back to that, why was it that it took you 6 months to make your first penny back?
Well, initially it was because I couldn't really focus. I mean, I when I first joined, I remember coming home from school, knowing that I had schoolwork, then I could get to the real world, which already was a problem that it was after school, but I couldn't, it was this thing that had like controlled my life, my phone. I couldn't like focus for more than 10 seconds without wanting to go like to TikTok or whatever,
Yeah.
insert social media. And that ultimately held me back for quite a long time because I couldn't focus. And part of it, besides that, was I was scared to outreach to, potential clients, cold call, like walking into a business or cold calling isn't exactly the most comfortable thing in the world. So that held me back. But once you realize that nobody really cares, that's
Yeah, it's true.
pretty easy. So
True. And what changed then for you after that 6 months? What is it that made you change and say, I am gonna make money. I am gonna make this work.
part of it was being able to see others doing it
Hmm.
inside the campus, and two was high school was getting over, and I really think college is pretty much a scam, to be honest with you. And I was like, well, the time's running out here, so I either got to do this
Yeah.
or suffer through you know hurting my future with going into debt, doing the whole college thing, even though I don't want to do it. So
You say college is a scam. What would you say to anyone who said the real world's a scam? Because obviously you have a lot of trolls out there who would say, "Well, it's a scam. It's a pyramid scheme." What would you say to them people?
I would say I would say some. that they are not the smartest people in the world, and they must have never taken any courses before, because I actually still do some college from because my parents really wanted me to, and I respect my parents. We have a good relationship, and I have gone to college, and I've had professors,
Hmm.
and I've had the real world, and the amount of education itself like is way more heavily weighted to the real world. I mean, you get daily stuff in the real world, and with a college, you might get stuff twice a week from somebody. You're getting live calls from all the professors daily.
So you're still at college now?
Yeah, I still am.
You know what? I say this, I say this with chess. I absolutely respect that you still go to college because you respect your parents. That's massive. That's massive. And you know what? It actually shows a lot about you as a person. And I absolutely admire that. So a lot of people would just drop out of college, piss their parents off, do the real world stuff. But the fact that you're sticking to a traditional route to please them and you're doing the real world work as well just goes to show that you have an open mind and a lot of respect for them. And having respect for, people as such as your parents and people that you look up to is massive, and it will get you far further in life than not having respect. So I absolutely admire that, mate.
Hmm.
So really good.
Thank you.
Well done, bro. But yeah, so I'm going to conclude this interview, but I must say I'm really proud of you, bro. How old are you?
I'm 19.
19. Yeah, 19. So you've still got so many years ahead, mate. This journey's only just started, and I genuinely believe that just being at where you're at right now is huge for a 19-year-old. Absolutely huge. And if you scale it properly and you have the right attitude, which seems to be the case, I think you're going to smash it, bro. And I hope one day I'm going to see you in the war room, and I'm going to see you at an event, and we're going to have a laugh about this, and we're going to laugh about your $6,000, and we're going to pretend that's going to be lunch. So with the big G's, but no, honestly, it's really great to hear from you, mate. And I just want to thank you for your time today. It's been my pleasure. So yeah, honestly, it's been amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it, man. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
your time, bro. I appreciate you. Cheers.
Cheers.